Hello and welcome to the new majors meeting for spring 2020 for the Rehabilitation and Disability Services major. My name is Amanda McCarthy, Dr. Amanda McCarthy. You can call me Dr. McCarthy, Amanda, whatever you're comfortable with. So I am an associate professor here at NIU, and I'm also the undergraduate faculty mentor for the major. Typically, this meeting, and I'll talk more about what the undergrad faculty mentor is. Typically, this meeting is held in a kind of live webinar format where students can log in live and kind of ask questions. This semester is a little unique. This particular meeting is being recorded in advance because I'm actually on maternity leave during the spring 2020 semester. By the time you watch this, we'll have had my second child, so I'll be on maternity leave for at least the majority of the spring 2020 semester. So trying to get you this information in an alternative way. Um, so my role as the undergraduate faculty mentor, kind of some history behind that. So a few years ago, faculty in the Rehab and Disability Services major did all of the academic advising and the career mentoring for our major. And what I'll say is that now that happens in the college office, it's done in a way better way. We have a wonderful faculty or academic advisor, Liz Yee, who just does an amazing job for us. But when when that role got moved down to the college, what faculty were wondering is, would students be comfortable coming to us and asking us questions, and if they needed help with kind of the career mentoring side of things. And so we wanted to keep that connection between students and faculty. And so I was asked in the fall of 2018 to take on this role of undergraduate faculty mentor. So I have a couple of responsibilities as a result of that. Again, this semester is a little unique because I'm on maternity leave, but just so you know, kind of in future semesters. So I'm responsible for doing programming like this. So holding, these types of webinars to help students get some basic information about the major. I also do outreach in different classes. So when I'm not on maternity leave, you'll see me, in different classes. Like I do a workshop in 327, our Intro to Rehab Services class, and our 494 class, our Professional Practices class. Um, I also do events from time to time. So I've had like resume workshops that I've done. I've done, like last year, a panel discussion with faculty, kind of a meet and greet type thing. Um, and we don't have anything planned for the spring, but hopefully in the fall we'll get some other events rolled out. And then I also do, and where I spend the majority of my time as faculty mentor, is actually meeting with students, actually meeting one-on-one with students. And so students will come to me with a variety of concerns and questions related to, what can they do with the major? What types of grad programs typically do our students have success in when they leave the undergrad major? Um, how do you prepare to apply for graduate school? How do you apply for a job, out of with this particular major? How do you find open opportunities? So lots of different concerns. So why I'm here today and what the purpose of this particular meeting is to give you some basic information about the major. So the information that I'm going to share here, and I'll scroll through the agenda and bring that up for us, is all of this information was sort of inspired by past students. So this is information that students at one point in time said, when they're juniors, seniors, they've told me, I really wish I would have known that when I was in my first semester in the major. I really wish I would have understood what internship could do for me, or I wish I would have understood how to talk about my major to employers or internship sites. And so the purpose of this meeting is to get you some of that basic information, and it's just a jumping off point. It's just an opportunity for you to get some working information about the major so that you can dive deeper and start talking to your faculty, start talking to me, start talking to peers, academic advisors, and certainly explore and customize the experience for yourself. But this is just kind of a jumping off point. So what I will do is we'll talk about what overall the major is about, what skills you're gaining, requirements of the major. We'll talk about career options, student organizations, academic advising. And then I have on this slide, because I have on this slide, it says use the chat function. And obviously this isn't live, but if you do have questions, you can certainly, while I'm on maternity leave, talk with faculty. When I get back from maternity leave, you can certainly contact me, and we can get you the information that you're looking for. So we'll kind of go through all of that today, but let's start with a take-home message. And the take-home message, that if you get nothing else out of today, is that in this major, we really do care and we want you to be successful. So we're glad you're here. We are delighted that you're interested in rehab and disability services. From my experience, this is a very, very rewarding career. And I don't regret for a second being in this career. I've just really enjoyed my time. It's been a wonderful fit for me and who I am and where my values are. And so I'm delighted that you're also interested in this particular career area, this career field. And so we want you to be successful. We know that there are lots of people out there that need our services and that need the skills that you're gaining here. We want you to be successful. So please do reach out if you're struggling, if you have questions, whether that's to a course instructor or myself or an academic advisor or another support on campus. We do encourage you to reach out. So if you get nothing else out of today, just know that we do care and we want to help. All right, so a common question that I get from students is, what is, kind of the overall purpose of this major, and how is it different or similar than other majors on campus? And how can I talk about this major to potential employers or to other students, even my friends, my family? So I'm going to give you a little bit of information around that topic. So as a student in this major, you are being prepared as a human services professional with a specialized set of knowledge and disability. Okay, so you're human services professional with a specialized set of knowledge and disability. You're unique and different from psychology, sociology, those types of majors, because you have the focus on disability throughout. So if you go and look at all of your classes, a common thread that you'll find in all of your classes is that we come back to this this fundamental, how does this apply to people with disabilities? And so some major your major knowledge base is that. So when you're asked about rehab and disability services, what is that? Now you can say, well, it's a human services degree, and it provides me with a specialized set of knowledge and disability so that I'm prepared to work with individuals with a variety of disabilities. And some of you could even add on to that elevator statement. And you could say, and I'm planning to use my preparation in rehab and disability services to gain entrance into an occupational therapy graduate program. Or I'm planning to use my preparation in rehab and disability services to gain employment in the area of independent living. So there's lots of ways to explain it. So start practicing your pitch so you're ready to share it. But hopefully that helps. And then the other thing that I wanted to share is the skill set that you're gaining. Okay, A lot of times students are confused about that or they don't understand how to explain that. And I think that's really important so we can be an advocate for ourselves and our profession. So if you notice this list here, I've got major knowledge base, major knowledge skill base. So this relates to each of the classes that you're taking. So I'll make that a little bit bigger so you can see here. But so you can see you're gaining information about the social, medical, vocational aspects of disability. So being able to recognize how disability impacts the individual, looking at that from a vocational standpoint, from a social standpoint, from a family standpoint. So you've got, courses, particularly one, but it kind of infuses into many, and to have that information. You also are gaining information about different disability systems and services. So being able to provide, just having that knowledge, be able to provide information and referral to people. You may start to get questions about, how does transportation work for somebody, public transportation work for somebody who uses a wheelchair? What are those options? Or I've got a friend who has a disability and has been out of work for a while. What are their options? And so you're kind of positioning yourself through your coursework to be able to answer those questions a little bit more informed. We also have, we focus on employment and education. So in Rehab and Disability Services, we're typically focused on that. So you're able to understand from a unique perspective how disability impacts someone who's seeking employment, who's seeking education, who's seeking independent living, and kind of help consider those factors when providing services for them. We also, another skill set we provide you is related to counseling and communication skills. So being able to effectively communicate and collaborate with our clients, that's an entire skill set that you'll get started on that while you're here. We also have an assistive technology area that we focus on. So being able to understand how assistive technology can kind of help bridge the gap between where someone is and where the demands of their employment situation might be, kind of close that gap. And then we also heavily focus here in this program on career exploration and giving you the opportunity to develop your own personal job and internship, your job seeking skills. So not only are you learning how to do that for clients, but you're also learning how to do that for yourselves. And so all of those are skills that you'll take away from this major. As you further develop, in this major, perhaps some of these skills can start to show up on your resume. Perhaps you could create some type of portfolio to help demonstrate some of these skills and take that to job interviews. So those are all possibilities. Let's move on to talk about some example work settings. This is probably the second most common question I get is, okay, now once I've answered what the major is, the second most common question is, where can I work? What can I do? And in Rehab and Disability Services, it's a little different than other types of majors on campus. So for example, some of you may have friends or colleagues that are in majors where the name of the major is the same as what you'd type in as a keyword to kind of find a job in that major. So for example, accounting. Accounting, if you were to type, that was the name of your major, you were to type that into like Indeed.com, you would find that those two ideas are parallel. With Rehab and Disability Services, it's a little bit different, and that's why it's important to understand your skill set so that you can understand where you plug in and how you might identify keywords to help you search. It's also important to understand these work settings so that you can, again, use that information as you're searching. So if you did type in Rehab and Disability Services into like an Indeed.com type website, you're probably not going to yield the results you're hoping for. It's probably going to be a combination of physical rehabilitation or substance abuse or something like that, which could fit, but it probably is maybe not going to be at the bachelor's level and really feed into your skill set and what you're learning here. So let's look at some of these work settings and just kind of go through a few examples. Uh, so independent living services is one that fits you can plug your skill set right into independent living services. So a common example of this would be um, the Centers for Independent Living, which are all over the state, all over the country. Centers for Independent Living help people with disabilities in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's related to being independent with their living situation, but centers or SILs offer a variety of services. So, for example, there's a really cool program. Um, it's called community reintegration, and what it is it's people who are currently living in nursing homes but really don't need to be, and they want to be in the community. That there's programs and services that can help them transition back into the community. There's programs for people who have families, who have children, who are children with disabilities who are in the school system, and there is some services to make sure that those families are getting what they're entitled to and what they deserve. There's even with Centers for Independent Living services that help make sure that public areas and businesses are compliant with the ADA. So lots of different options with independent living. So if you were to go in Google, do a Google search for Centers for Independent Living in Illinois, you'd find a whole list of sites and a whole list of services. Supported employment services is another really common one for our major. This is really some great work experience if you can get some in this. This is could be considered being like a case manager for individuals who maybe aren't quite ready for competitive employment, and you'll learn more about that term in your classes. And they need some pretty heavy supports in order to be employed. So they need supported employment services, maybe in the form of a job coach or something like that. Again, our degree program plugs right into that, and it's really a great experience. Having done a little bit of job coaching, I can tell you that some of the sites where you end up job coaching can be pretty interesting. I've job coached at a tanning salon and a pig farm and everywhere in between. So can be a really, really interesting work, and you can learn a lot about your clients and you can learn a lot about yourself, and really, really set yourself up. Advocacy services, I touched on that a little bit when I talked about independent living. Some of those services in the school district would be considered that. Let's see, group home services would be another one that we tend to see some of our graduates pursuing. So before you get your bachelor's, a lot of you would be eligible for positions like direct support professionals or DSPs. So those are individuals providing kind of the daily cares, maybe the activities of daily living, be helping someone with toileting, showering, who lives in a group home. And that you can get those positions typically before you get your bachelor's. But then once you have your bachelor's, typically more doors open in terms of the group home services. And so we see more of our students with bachelor's degrees kind of moving towards positions that are in more supervisory or manager roles with group homes. So instead of providing the daily cares, maybe you're the one kind of overseeing the house and kind of helping with designing kind of the agenda for the day and setting up community engagement and involvement, and helping to schedule updates if your clients are being seen by different organizations or receiving services from different organizations. You might kind of help organize that. You might be responsible for actually supervising staff, and so you might have kind of that personnel side of it to do. So there's lots of different opportunities there as well, and we have some great organizations in the Chicagoland area that do group home services. Employment programs and services. So certainly there is, and this goes along with job searching as well. But in addition to supported employment, we have a huge need for people who are doing job placement with people with disabilities. And we have, and you'll learn more about this, but a lot of these opportunities come in uh, with the IPS model. You'll learn about the IPS model. It's an evidence-based practice model, individualized placement support model that is utilized a lot in not-for-profit organizations. And a lot of times bachelor's level individuals are providing those supports to get these individuals back to work. So usually people with mental health issues. So that's another example. Like for example, Northwestern Medicine, Ben Gordon Center, they use the IPS model, and a lot of their staff is bachelor's level people. Not all, but some. Sometimes we see people interested in mental health services that could be, they're usually not, it takes a master's level to do like actual counseling, but sometimes you're supporting that master's level person and at the bachelor's level. College support services. So there's many opportunities in college, university, disability support services. So providing accommodations to students with disabilities, helping them get set up with those can be another area that you could work in. Community rehab programs. So a lot of those programs provide a lot of the services I've already talked about. But those are not-for-profit organizations working in the community. So an example of some local would be like Opportunity House or in Sycamore, or Open Door Rehabilitation in Sandwich, Illinois. So lots of different possible work settings for you to think about, and hopefully, as you're going through your classes, you'll learn about even more. The next couple slides are for your information. So these are examples of keywords. So job titles that you could actually type into job search websites, so like in Indeed or something like that. So these are just examples, but these are examples that we've seen our students have success with. And so I've kind of been assembling these over the years. So employment specialist or job advisor, occupation specialist, occupation counselor, community integration specialist. So that these next few slides talk through that for you, so you can kind of use that at your leisure. But I think a lot of people kind of need help being a little bit creative with finding different employment settings. And I think with this major, creativity is definitely can be part of the equation, and that's great. So I'll give an example. This has been a few years ago now. I've been at NIU for about close to 11 years, and I was working with an individual who had a former life as a real estate agent, and they had some life issues happen to them and had wanted to make a change. And then they also had a child with a disability and got really interested in disability and wanted to get their bachelor's in our major. And so with the intention of working in this area. And so what they did is they went through the major and they got all the skills we've talked about, and then they actually graduated and they got a job as a housing locator for people with disabilities. And so they were able to use their specialized set of knowledge in real estate and their interest in that, and then also the disability knowledge that they learned in our program, and we're able to mix the two, and we're able to find an organization that needed that skill set. I had another student who I worked with, and this was also a few years ago, and this individual had a very strong interest in um, physical, like bodybuilding, lifting weights, kind of kinesiology type things. Very a gym rat. I don't know if that's the right term, but they love being at the gym and working out, and they got interested in disability, through a friend, family experience, personal experience. And what they did is when they graduated, they actually ended up renting out some space in a gym. And what they did is they started classes for like taekwondo, some mixed martial arts, that sort of thing. Tumbling even they did, for people with disabilities. And so, that was something that there was a gap in services, and that this particular individual really valued the opportunity for people with disabilities to engage in those type of recreational activities, and they weren't available. And so they solved the problem. They created these services, and then, became quite popular, as I understand. Um, so that's another, area where they kind of meshed their interest with the skills that they learned in the major, and really, really got to utilize both. So it's good to be creative, and hopefully as you're going through, you'll get to talk with mentors and instructors and get to kind of think about how that can apply to you. All right, so I've mentioned Liz before. Liz is our professional academic advisor for the major. So we recommend that you see Liz at least once a semester, and that we recommend that you see her and make plans to see her before registering for classes for the upcoming semester. So, so if registration happens for summer and fall and April, then we would recommend that before April that you set up an appointment to talk with her. Please know that and you just call that number listed on the slide, 815-753-1891. Please know that there is typically a 2-week wait. So when you call, make sure you call well in advance, make your appointment so the two of you can sit down and have a good conversation about classes and course planning. We really want to warn you against self-advising. So based on when you came into NIU, you have a specific catalog year. Okay. So if you came in fall of 17, or if you to NIU, then you would have a 17-18 catalog year, for example. The person sitting next to you may have a different catalog year, and different catalog years tend to have different requirements. So you may be in classes or sitting next to someone in class who you're the same major, but you may have slightly different requirements. So we highly recommend going to the primary source to talk to Liz about what classes you need, and really avoid relying on your friends and your colleagues for that type of information. Unfortunately, we've had students who have relied on their friends, and friends are good for a lot of things, but advising is not necessarily one of them. And it's resulted in students being delayed in graduating and such. So please, please, please make sure not to self-advise, and instead see your academic advisor every semester and make plans to do it before you need to register. The other thing that I'll say is, as we're on academic advising and courses, it's really important that you register for classes as soon as your window for registration opens. So you'll be notified, and you can always check My NIU when you go to register for summer and fall, but you'll be notified of a day and time when your appointment window opens. And please do respond to that. Set an alarm in your phone, whatever you need to do, so that you can get in and register immediately. What unfortunately we see some students do is they wait. They wait to register for fall until, the end of August or the middle of August, or they wait to register for summer until last minute. And what happens is the decision makers, if they don't see a certain level of enrollment, they cancel a class. And so students wait, we don't see the enrollment, we cancel the class, and that we just can't kind of bring that back. And unfortunately, a lot of times that means students have to wait to take the class. So we don't want that. We want students to get the classes they need. So please do register when you can, so everything can be kind of planned accordingly. The next, another common question I get is related to the advised course list. So if you were to look at your degree requirements, you'll notice that there is a requirement in there that says, it's one of the last ones listed, and it talks about you need 24 hours of advised credits and 3 in the area of diversity, etc. So a lot of students say, how does that work? How do I get that? So when you first come into the major, there's kind of a lot to take on. So sometimes this conversation doesn't happen in academic advising until maybe your second year in the major or something if you came in as a freshman. But what this is this is an opportunity for you to further customize your degree to match your career goals. And so Rehab and disability services, you're going to, just by being in this major, you're going to get all the skills we had already previously talked about. But to further enhance, we have this requirement, and it allows you to take a set of coursework that gives you an additional skill set. So for example, we have some students that are probably listening today that are interested in occupational therapy. And so what those students are able to do is they're able to utilize the 24 hours of advised courses to take the prerequisites that they need for entrance, to be eligible to apply for a graduate program in occupational therapy. So that's one example. We have students who are interested in rehabilitation counseling, for example. So they might choose to take, I have the counseling minor and a link listed up here. They might choose to take the counseling minor, and that fits right in with their career interests. And so this is a way, again, for you to customize your experience, for you to have some flexibility on courses you take to match your interests, to match your career goals. And what I really like and what I encourage students to do is really spin this when they're selling themselves and marketing themselves to potential employers, at internship fairs, things like that. Make sure you get it on your resume that this is a set of courses that you've taken. So lots of different possibilities. Again, the conversation happens during an academic advising appointment. And then we also have, then there's paperwork that gets filled out. Typically, the paperwork doesn't get filled out till the end, towards more the end of your degree program, but you can ask about that at your academic advising appointment. And then on our Blackboard community, which I'm going to talk about next, we actually have some, under the program requirements tab, we actually have some additional examples of courses for you to take. So you can kind of try to find one that matches you in your interests and goals. You're not limited to the ones we have listed, they're just examples. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is the Blackboard community. The Blackboard community is the day you declared the major, you were added to the Blackboard community, so it's automatically happens through records and registration. We use this as an information sharing tool. So we send out information related to job openings, internship, sometimes program information, like we send out announcements about make sure to register, things like that. Or if we have an event going on, like oh resume clinic, you can stop in here, or drop in office hours for the faculty mentor or faculty meet and greet, whatever it might be. We kind of use it to share opportunities. And then we also have information housed on our Blackboard site. So I mentioned the advised course list information. We also have internship information housed there. So and more is always being added, but that's something that we're that we use. So it's a great tool. And a lot of people when they get an email from Blackboard, they're like, oh great, another email. But we really do encourage you to engage with that material. And a lot of times what happens is, especially with the job announcements, that different agencies have had great experiences with our students. So instead of those agencies paying to advertise job openings somewhere, they will actually just send it to us and say, could you let your students know about this? And they usually get a lot of really qualified applicants that way. So a lot of times that's kind of an inside track. So definitely pay attention to those announcements as they're coming forward. And of course, if they're not relevant to you, you can delete them, but don't delete them before you know that they're not relevant to you. Internship is another common question that I get. And it's really, the question that I get really is mostly related to when can I do internship? Do I need to do internship? Is that just kind of an extra thing? But, so I get a lot of questions about that. Internship is something that I recommend that all students do. So I recommend that because until you have been in a context where you get some experience with that context, that it's really hard to make decisions about where you want to work, who you want to work with, etc., until you have that actual hands-on experience. Even for some of you who have, let's say, are interested in OT, unless you've actually have experience on the other side, not just as a patient, but on the other side of that in multiple settings, it's really, really risky to make a career decision based off of that. So I have had students who have their heart set on a very specific career path, and then they do an internship and they figure out this is not for me. And although that it's, sad that they don't have their plan anymore, they're relieved to know that at least I didn't invest more in this path and not like it. So you can earn credit for doing an internship. The course number is Rehab 497. It's a permit only class, so there are some requirements before you can sign up, and you can find all that information on our Blackboard community. You can not only use this to get credit, but also fulfill a degree requirement and an upper level credit requirement, which becomes important. I already talked about career exploration, but you can also gain experience putting on your resume. Looks great for applying for work, for applying for grad school. A lot of times, I've been on the admissions committee for our graduate program in rehab counseling, and hands-on experience is something that I give a lot of weight to and a lot of credibility to. And if somebody is expressing a career interest in their personal statement, but they don't have any experience to back that up, that's going to be a red flag for me. And I'm going to really hone in on do they know what this field is? Do they understand this field? And I'm going to question that, and possibly even, say that this isn't a good fit. So having that experience to back up your statements is really important. You can also use this experience to perhaps gain observation hours, such as the case for OT. Sometimes, if you're already working in an area, you can get internship credit too. So that's all, all possible. So depending on when you view this, spring 2020 might be later, too late to start an internship, but we'll be looking for applicants for spring 2020 and fall 2020. And again, information is on the Blackboard community to get you started. And then you can also contact Nicole, who does our internship for our undergrad. But I would highly recommend the internship. Again, I personally, based on the success that I've seen for students doing internship, would recommend that every single student in this major does internship. I've seen it have tremendously positive results. This next slide, so another common question I get is faculty, who am I interacting with? What's their role? So I just put together a list of faculty in our major. Certainly you can take a look at this and you can follow the link for the full directory. But these people are all your allies. These people are all here to help. They again want you to be successful, and this is a chance to get to know them, especially your foot in the door now is, I'm new to the major. I listened to Dr. McCarthy's new major meeting, and she mentioned that it might be helpful for me to reach out and get to know my faculty. So I was wondering if we could schedule a meeting to introduce myself. I'm going to have you for class, and I want to get to know you. And it's those types of networking opportunities that when we take those and we do that on a regular basis, by the time we're ready to ask for a letter of recommendation or have someone serve as a reference for us, we've got these relationships established, and they can say really positive things about us, and they know us really well, and we don't have to stress about that and worry about that. So get to know your faculty. The difference between students who get opportunities and don't is, did faculty know them? I get a lot of things that come through my inbox that say, we've got this award and we need nominations. And if I know the student, and I know students, and I can think, oh yeah, Allison would be really good for that award, or yeah, I think John has a really good chance at that. If I know them and they've made an effort to get to know me, I'm very likely to kind of put their name forward. But if I don't know you, it's not excuse me, it's not possible for me to put your name forward. So just be aware of that as you're going through. Another question that I commonly get is related to graduate programs. What graduate programs typically our students are pursuing? So common ones include rehabilitation counseling, occupational therapy, applied behavioral analysis, and mental health counseling. Those are probably the most common right now. We also see some students pursuing areas like special education and things like that. So it just really depends on where your interests are, and that's something that as a faculty mentor I can talk to you about. If you have other mentors, you can talk to them about. But I just wanted to mention a couple programs that we have here at NIU related to graduate school. So we have a Master's of Science in Rehabilitation Counseling at NIU. So we are a counseling specialty, and we focus on working with people with disabilities. So our students in our master's program, so we're a fully accredited clinical training program. Students get licensed and certified as counselors when they're done. We are K-CREP accredited, so we have a 56-hour credit hour program, and it's 2 years. Our cohorts are usually less than 15 students. We are, as a field, we're expected to grow about 13% through 2026. And we have application deadlines 2 times per year in September and February. So I have some contact information there, and I've put our website on there. But it's a program that I'm really proud of and really proud to be a part of. We've certainly moved up in terms of national rankings over the last few years, and I think our potential is just growing every year. So that's a program if you're interested in counseling, if you're interested in working with people with disabilities and kind of want that next level, want that a little bit more responsibility, that clinical training, that clinical counseling training, this could be a program for you to think about. We also have a accelerated program in rehabilitation counseling. This was rolled out a year ago in the fall, so fall 2018. And the concept with the accelerated program is it allows students to start taking graduate level classes what would be during their senior year or their final year. So from start to finish, from starting bachelor's to master's completion, it usually shaves off a whole year for students. So for students who know they want to do rehab counseling, this is a really great option. There are some specialized requirements, and I have those listed up here. Students need to have a 3.25 GPA at least when they apply. They need to have at least 96 credits completed by the time they start the program, and they have to be a rehab and disability services major, so it's only open to you guys. So if you are interested, I am the contact for that. So again, I'm out for the bulk of this current spring 2020 semester, but you can always contact me towards the end of this semester. And what I'll do is if you contact me stating you're interested, I'll just kind of go through and look at your eligibility. So if you're a freshman, I'm going to say, okay, let's wait until you get a couple semesters under your belt and kind of see where your GPA lands. And then if you're still interested, then I'm going to sit down with you and kind of go through the typical graduate level sequence and what you can expect there. And then we just kind of if you're still interested, then we kind of just start solidifying the plan until, working towards applying for the program and ultimately, hopefully, being accepted. So I've got information there related to the accelerated program. Again, a great opportunity. I also have included information on different student organizations. So a lot of times, employers are looking for leadership skills. And they know, based on your GPA, if you can sit through classes, take tests, and learn basic information and kind of carry out those functions. But what they might not know is, do you have interpersonal skills? Are you going to be personable? Are you going to get along with other people? That sort of thing. And surprisingly, that's a big problem for some of the employers, and it's a big risk. So we actually see student organizations and leadership in student organizations as a way to demonstrate to potential employers that you indeed can fulfill those functions and that you're going to be a reasonably good employee and a good person to work with. So lots of different options there. Rehab Counseling Student Association is a common one. The SOTA, Student Occupational Therapy Association, I've heard is extremely helpful as well. Deaf Pride, and then I put a web link in there for just some other, you can follow that to find some other opportunities, but definitely something to consider. All right, so just to wrap up here, one is we want you to be successful, so don't hesitate to reach out. This semester, again, is a little unique because I'm on maternity leave, but there's still people here that can help you, so don't hesitate. And then towards the end of the semester, feel free to reach out to me and we can, get connected. We typically, at this level of education, we're leaving it up to you to let us know how we can help. So please don't hesitate. Definitely get involved. Start getting involved now. The biggest regret I hear from students is, I wish I would have got involved. I wish I would have gone to some student organization meetings. I wish I would have done an internship. I wish I would have, talked with my instructors. And I realize that you guys are very busy and you have very complicated lives and you have a lot of responsibilities, and I get that. But please, as you have time, definitely get involved. Again, strongly consider internship. If you're one of those students whose GPA is hanging right around 3.0, internship is a great way to be able to kind of combat that GPA, especially if employers look at that and they say, I don't know, this person has a 2.9 GPA. I don't know, are we going to take the risk? But then you're able to back up, well, I've done 2 internships, I've got rave reviews from both of those. That can really make a difference in an employer's eyes. Also, it's really critical, as you're talking with your mentors, to really be open-minded about your plans for the future. So even if you think you know what your plan is, that's great. Let's keep that in mind as plan A, but think about the possibility of a plan B and a plan C, or maybe even a plan D. And the reason for that is because, we just don't know. We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket and then not have options. So I had was when I was going through college, a kind of a graduated high school and made some pretty uninformed decisions about my future. Everybody says, "Oh, it looks like you always knew what you wanted to do." And that's really not the case. I had a plan A and a plan B and a plan C. And unfortunately, because I had those backup plans, everybody says, "Oh, you made it look easy." But it was only because I had those backup plans and didn't put all my eggs in one basket that things really worked out well. And then the last thing I'll say is, as you are able, do take time to reflect and really enjoy this time. I know college seems like, there's just so many responsibilities and you don't get paid, yet you have all this work to do. But try to enjoy it. It really does go fast. So that wraps up our new majors meeting for spring 2020. Again, please do not hesitate to reach out for help. And welcome to the major, and I look forward to working with you in the coming years.